Hello everyone, this is Piyush. Welcome back to my channel. If you are an international student in the US pursuing your masters in civil engineering, or if you have graduated with a masters in civil engineering from USA, this video is specifically for you because in this video I will give a breakdown of all the career paths that you can pursue as a civil engineering graduate in the US and also depict what's the importance of FE and PE exams as a civil engineer. So without wasting any time, let's get into it. Hello everyone, if you don't know me, I finished my masters in civil engineering from Purdue University with a specialization in construction engineering and management, and I graduated with a master's degree from Purdue in December of 2023 and currently working in a full-time role based in New York as a tunnel graduate engineer. So in this video, let's look at the career paths that you can choose after you have graduated from a US university. So civil engineering is a very broad industry and there are a lot of specializations that you can get into. It might be structural engineer, geotech engineer, transportation engineer, environmental engineer, construction management, and so on. So some of the career paths depends on the role that you choose. So my BTech was in civil engineering where you have all the subjects such as structural, geotech, transportation, surveying and so on. But when I came for my masters, my specialization was specifically on construction engineering and management. So everything with the management of a construction project, being a project manager and so on. So that was my specialization. But let's try to have a breakdown of each of the fields. Let's say you are a structural engineer, so most of your roles would be like designing of stuff, whether it's calculating the loads and doing such things, and it might be on variety of projects. It might be for bridges, for residential buildings, tunnels, other infrastructure projects and so on. So if you're a structural engineer, your niche is already decided, so there are a certain type of roles that you need to go to, everything with design firms. So let's say all the consultancies such as Stantec, Jacobs, Acom, Mott MacDonald and so on. These are the companies that you might focus on which have a lot of engineering and design work. The second field is geotechnical engineering. This also has a high scope in the US, especially for civil engineers alongside structural engineering. So in geotech engineer, everything related to earth, you have to deal with it, whether it's earth retaining structures, foundation, soil bearing capacity and so on. So geotechnical engineers are also in demand and they can work in almost every type of civil engineering projects because each type of construction project, whether it's buildings, whether it's tunnel, again bridges or highways, everything needs a solid foundation on which the structure can rest. So geotechnical engineers can apply in companies, whether it's contractors as well as designers. So in design you can calculate the bearing capacity, design of let's say earth retaining structures and so on site also you can work on inspection activities, everything related to the geotechnical aspects of construction. Third, for transportation, you can deal with everything related to highways, transportation projects, transportation tunnel, metro projects and so on. So this specifically is for transportation engineers. They can look for roles such as graduate transportation engineer. Again, for this thing, it's both design as well as side jobs, so you can select as per your requirements or as per your interests. The fourth is environmental engineering, where you kind of deal with obviously everything about environment, the sustainability, how impactful an project is for an environment and so on. So it basically deals with that. The fifth, that is my specialization, is construction engineering and management. So everything related to the cost, the schedule, tracking of the projects and so on. This is what interests me and this was my background during my masters in construction management. So the type of roles that I can be in is again in office as well as on site. So in office I can get or I can find roles such as scheduling engineer, I can be a cost estimator, I can be a project engineer, project controls engineer, or if I want to go on site, it might be an inspection role, construction manager, assistant project manager and so on. So this is how the civil engineering is broadly divided into various categories. Now again, it depends on companies, like they might have their own departments or own sectors where you can work in, but this is how it's broadly classified. So you can fall under each of the categories based on your specialization, your interest and your work experience. But as a graduate civil engineer, the advantage you have that is that you can go in any field. So let's say even I have my background in construction management, still I can apply for some structural roles based on like when they recruit me, I can tell that I have a background in structural engineering back in India in my BTech, and I also have an understanding of the management aspects of the thing. So I can also go in the structural field if I am interested in that. So again, as a graduate student, it's quite flexible on where you want to go. There are also some roles where you are a project manager, but again you have to also deal with the technical side of the things, whether it's structural engineering or geotech engineering. So it's not that if you are a project manager you will just deal with the cost and the schedule. It's a holistic view, and you have to make sure you understand the technical side of the things as well as the management side of the things to be a complete civil engineer. So as a graduate civil engineer who doesn't have much experience back in India or in your home country, try to be as flexible as possible and be willing to learn in any field that you are sent to, whether you are sent in structural, geotech, transportation, environment, construction management, and so on. All experience would count, and it will definitely help you as you move into your career. Now that you know basically different type of roles and different type of specialization in civil engineering, let's look at an exam that you must take as a civil engineering in the US, no matter which specialization you are in. That is the FE and the PE exam. The FE stands for Fundamentals of Engineering, and PE stands for Professional Engineering, the license that you get, PE license in the US. So whenever you talk to a civil engineer who is experienced in the industry, their main focus is getting licensed, getting a PE license in the US. This license is based in different states. So New York has its own PE license, New Jersey has its own PE license, and so on. So you have to get licensed for different states that you're working on. Some of the license might be transferred, but the main point is like before giving the PE exam, the FE Fundamentals of Engineering is a must. You must have cleared that, gained sufficient years of experience based on various states, and that's how you get licensed to practice civil engineering. So that means like if you have a PE license, you can stamp on drawings, sign the drawings, seal the drawings, and take all the engineering decisions that you must take. And the main advantage of taking a FE exam, which ultimately leads you to the PE, is that your career opportunities open up. Like you have a lot of options under your belt. Mostly FE is for like if you want to go into design work or drawings or like sign the drawings. But even like I am a construction management student, as I mentioned, but I still took my FE exam and on the way to give my PE, because my career opportunities would grow. Like I could go in structural side of things, the geotechnical side of things, and so on. So I don't want to restrict myself to only construction management and want to keep my options open. And I highly recommend you give your FE exam as soon as possible. First is that you are in the flow of the education, like studying, so it's easier for you to remember concepts and sit for the exam because you are in that flow. Second is that the early you give, it's better, because once you start working full time, especially if you're on site, it really gets difficult to manage time between study and work. So when you are in your university, you also have some free time. So if you can do that, that would be really great. And then you get your first step out of the way. Then you can just focus on accumulating experience or giving your PE exam in whatever field you like. The Fundamental of Engineering exam is divided in various engineering fields for civil, chemical, electrical, and so on, but our focus is on civil engineering. I will make a more detailed video on how I cleared my FE exam in the first attempt itself, and what were the preparation materials that I used, how much time it take, and what is the syllabus, and so on. But this video is specifically for making you understand the career options and why is giving an FE or a PE really important to you if you want to grow your career in the US. Most of the engineering firms, most of the construction firms really value you if you have given your FE and then on your way to give your PE exam. So make sure you give that. Like it's also a good way to stand out from the crowd. Like from 100 people I know, like only 5 or 10 people might have given it before graduating. So if you clear your FE before graduation, you stand out from the crowd, and whenever you give your interview, the recruiter might prefer you over someone who doesn't have a FE. And I want to reinforce another fact, that don't get stressed about like, oh, what field should I go in if I get restricted to this field or this industry and so on. Try to be as open as possible and be ready to go wherever you want. Like it's only by experiment that you will realize what are your interests in, which field you like to work on, whether you like to work on the design aspect of the things or the construction. So initially in your career, it's very normal to get confused. Like even I get confused. Should I just be restricted to construction management or also explore options in the structural or the geotechnical field? So it's completely alright even if you are confused, but try to keep the options as open as possible. Again, try to give your FE as soon as you can and get on your way to give the PE exam. So yeah, that's mostly about the career options that you can choose as a civil engineering in the US. Please feel free to share this video with as many civil engineers as possible who are in the US or who are even planning to come from India to the US or from their home country to the US, so that they are aware about how things work and what are the options that you can look for. Please comment down and let me know if you need to know more about civil engineering, because there are not a lot of civil engineers. Like, everyone is in the tech industry, so it's difficult to have civil engineers talk about the career options, how the things work in the industry, and so on. Like and subscribe my channel if you find my content useful. Stay tuned for the video on how to prepare for FE, what are the materials, what's the syllabus, and so on. Thank you again for watching this video. Until next time.